Okay, so today we are diving deep into, well, it's a really complicated one. The very public, high stakes situation involving Cardi B and NFL star Stefon Diggs. You've given us a whole stack of source material. We're talking legal filings, PR statements, social media breakdowns, the works. And our mission here is basically to cut through all that noise for you, give you a clear picture of the timeline, the legal moves, and the potential fallout for everyone involved. Reputation stuff too. Let's start with that timeline because, wow, the whiplash is immediate, isn't it? It began with what seemed like just, purely happy news. Cardi B confirmed she's expecting her fourth child, this one, her first with Stefon Diggs. And our sources really highlight how she framed it like this huge personal moment, a new chapter, she said, where her heart and her career are finally aligned. It was meant to sound solid, successful.
Right. Okay, but let's unpack that because, yeah, that picture of stability, it shattered almost the second it was announced. Almost immediately after the news broke, this other story surfaces a really serious one. An existing legal battle. Turns out a model had filed a lawsuit claiming Diggs is the father of her child, that baby born earlier this year, back in April. And this wasn't just like a rumor floating around. It was a formal legal claim hitting the headlines right as Cardi was sharing her pregnancy news. Talk about timing.
And here's the detail that's absolutely crucial for you to grasp. This wasn't some, spur of the moment thing filed after Cardi's announcement. No, the source material makes it super clear. The model had actually filed the legal paperwork months before her baby was even born. That timeline is just, it's central to understanding this. She wasn't waiting for a public moment. She was already moving through the courts way before the baby arrived in April, trying to get parental rights sorted.
Yeah, that procedural point is really important. When someone files for paternity or parental rights before the birth, it signals they're serious. It's a legal strategy. They're trying to lock down the legal relationship, financial support, everything as soon as possible. This wasn't just about creating drama now. It was about securing that legal foundation for her child. So while it feels like sudden drama to the public, this has actually been quietly working its way through the legal system for quite a while this year.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? If this legal process was already going on, how much of a surprise was this, really, to the people directly involved? Was it actually a storm, or more like, well, the inevitable public reveal of something that was already happening behind the scenes?
That's a really good question. And if you look at Stefon Diggs' immediate reaction, or rather his legal team's reaction, it's very, very calculated. The sources described it as both careful and bold. Which is interesting, right? A lot of celebs in this spot might just issue a flat denial or maybe say nothing at all. Diggs didn't do either. What he did instead was file a legal motion right away asking for genetic testing, a DNA test. So it's not him saying no, absolutely not. It's more like, hold on, let's get proof before anyone assigns blame or responsibility. He's demanding due process. And he publicly stated that if the DNA confirms he's the father, he will step up. He committed to sharing custody and covering the necessary financial support. It's basically risk management, Acknowledge the possibility, but insist on legal certainty first. Don't accept the burden based just on her claim.
Okay, but here's a detail from the sources that, well, it really throws a wrench into that tidy legal move. It suggests maybe there was some private understanding before all this blew up publicly. The child, the baby, at the center of this whole dispute, already has Diggs' last name. What does that mean, legally speaking? Does giving a last name count as some kind of informal acknowledgement? Does it actually carry weight in paternity court?
Well, that detail definitely dials up the complexity. You have to be careful to distinguish between, let's say, social acknowledgement and actual legal establishment of paternity. A last name can be put on a birth certificate at the hospital, maybe based on a private agreement, or even just the mother's choice sometimes. It's not in itself ironclad legal proof that he's the father or financially responsible. However, the fact that the child already has his surname, that definitely strengthens the mother's case. It suggests there was some kind of prior relationship, maybe even an informal nod from him about paternity. I mean, if he knew about it or encouraged using his name, it kind of complicates his current stance of needing a DNA test, doesn't it? It implies maybe he wasn't totally uncertain privately. The court will definitely look at that as context, but at the end of the day, the DNA test is still the thing that legally settles paternity for custody and support. That's the definitive key.
Right. Okay, now this is where things pivot. We move from the quiet maneuvers in the courtroom to the very loud arena of public opinion. Let's shift to Cardi B's reaction. Because in truly unfiltered Cardi fashion, she didn't just let her team put out some bland, carefully worded PR statement. Nope, she went live. And it was honestly kind of a brilliant, raw move. She just tackled the whole situation, the massive elephant in the room, head on, in real time. And she dropped this quote that instantly became the soundbite, a really loaded message that just, it took control of the narrative right back. We have to use the exact quote. She said, "That's your baby daddy. That's my baby daddy, too."
Boom. Yeah, that quote. It's like a masterclass in handling modern celebrity crisis. She basically takes what could be a deeply humiliating public challenge and flips it into this moment of just radical honesty. Our sources picked up on that too. They characterized her reaction not as, denial or the usual celebrity rage, but as this really striking mix of raw honesty mixed with uncertainty. Because right after that bombshell line, she sort of admits the messiness, right? She says, well, what now? I don't know. We'll figure it out. And what's so fascinating is what that does. By owning the shared situation, owning the uncertainty, she keeps control of the emotional story. She stops the media from painting her as like a victim who got blindsided or some fool who didn't know. She's projecting confidence. Yeah, I know I'm dealing with it, but also vulnerability by saying she doesn't have the answers yet. It's a really powerful way to kind of shield her brand from accusations of being deceitful or caught unaware. Very effective.
Yeah, totally. And it really sets the stage for talking about the real consequences here. This connects the immediate drama to the much bigger picture, the professional risks, the personal stakes for everyone tangled up in this. If we look at the ripple effects, I mean, they go way beyond just the legal question of, is he the father?
Oh, absolutely. The fallout is potentially huge. Let's start with Stefon Diggs' professional reputation. This isn't just personal drama for him. It carries real career risk. NFL contracts often have those morality clauses. Now, a paternity dispute itself might not trigger termination, usually doesn't, but the distraction, the prolonged public scrutiny, that can seriously damage his standing with the team, coaches, fans, and maybe more importantly, with big corporate sponsors. His image as a top athlete is tied to how professional he seems off the field. This whole mess could definitely hit his future endorsement deals.
And then there's Cardi B. For her, the fallout hits her public image, that brand she's built so carefully. It thrives on her being authentic, relatable, right? She just spun this narrative about a new chapter with Diggs, this stable foundation, and boom, this dispute comes along and immediately challenges that story, challenges the trust she has with her fans. She risks looking like she was either desperate to keep the relationship going, or maybe worse, willing to ignore pretty serious stuff just to maintain that public image. Her credibility is really on the line here.
Exactly. And then you absolutely have to consider the model who started the legal process. For her, this is fundamentally about truth and justice. Her goal seems pretty clear. Get the legal identity and future security for her child established. It's not just about money, it's about recognition. If that DNA test comes back positive and the court issues orders, it establishes the child's legal standing. That's the bedrock security for that child's life going forward.
And wow, you just have to think about the emotional toll on Cardi B through all of this. I mean, she's dealing with intense public scrutiny, probably private doubts, this ongoing legal fight, all while she's pregnant and trying to manage this whole narrative around her relationship. The mental and emotional stress must be just immense, especially with social media buzzing constantly, analyzing her every move. So, okay, where does all of this leave us right now? We've seen the opening chapters, right? The big celebration, the revelation of the pre-existing lawsuit, Diggs' defensive legal play, Cardi's explosive countermove. But the really critical questions, the ones that decide what happens next, they're still hanging in the air, still totally unresolved.
Yeah, which brings us to the core question, really. It boils down to this. Will that DNA test confirm he's the father? If yes, it validates the model's fight, and bam, Diggs is legally locked into custody arrangements and financial support. Or will the test clear his name? That might end the custody battle itself, but it would leave so many other questions unanswered. Like, why file the suit in the first place? And crucially, why does the child already have his last name? That wouldn't just disappear. The truth, whatever it turns out to be, whether it comes from the DNA results, a court decision, or maybe another unfiltered Cardi B livestream, it's going to reshape everything. It'll dictate the path of Cardi's relationship or future family dynamic. It's going to heavily impact Stefon Diggs' reputation, his career prospects, and most importantly, it establishes the long-term foundation, legally and financially, for the children involved here.
Yeah, this story is definitely not finished. Not even close. The legal papers, the public statements, those were just the first shots fired, really. The next update, whether it's a court ruling or who knows, another unpredictable social media moment, could change absolutely everything we think we know right now. So maybe the thing for you to think about is the specific tension, given that the child already carries his last name. Is this whole legal fight really about finding out if he's a father? Or is it more fundamentally about hammering out the official terms custody, money for a connection that might have already been acknowledged, at least privately in some way? That shift from whatever happened privately to needing public legal certainty, that's really the core of this deep dive.